Hello, and welcome to this custom scenario-based role-play interaction tutorial for Adobe Captivate. Today we're working in Adobe Captivate 2019 release. This type of interaction would be great for simulating customer service situations, giving your learners practice interacting with customers, and perhaps making product recommendations based on information presented. I'll be covering a lot of ground with this one, so it's ideal that you have a basic understanding of shapes, text captions, button actions, and master slides. We'll be going through each major step of building this project together, but familiarity with these features will make following along much easier. Let's preview an example interaction I created called Ice Cream Shop Roleplay. At the start, we're presented with a set of instructions for how this roleplay activity works. That also describes a scenario that we're asking learners to imagine themselves in. We're told that it's our first day working at the Freezy Dream ice cream shop, which keeps 4 flavors of ice cream in stock each day. For each customer that comes into our shop, we want to recommend the best flavor out of the 4 based on the information they provide us. We're also instructed to click the arrow button in the lower right corner to continue. The stage has been set and our first customer has entered the shop. I'm going to click the arrow button to continue once again. Now the customer is speaking directly to us. She says, "Hello." I'll click next to continue. "I don't really like the taste of chocolate. What do you recommend?" I'll click the next arrow, and I see that 4 options have appeared on my screen, and I can select any one of them. The 4 flavors I have to choose from are Double Fudge Delight, Chocolate Cherry Swirl, Very Very Strawberry, and Mocha Madness. Now, obviously in the real world I don't have these flavors in front of me, so I might not know for sure which have chocolate and which don't. But the good news with this interaction is that it offers custom, constructive feedback even when wrong answers are selected. I'm pretty sure that Very Very Strawberry is the correct answer because the other 3 suggest chocolate in their titles. So let's click on Mocha Madness just to find out what happens. The customer responds to us. Wait, isn't a mocha a chocolate coffee? I don't think I'll like that. And from here, I'll get a conclusion screen letting me know that I didn't pick the best flavor and why. Remember, she said that she doesn't like the taste of chocolate. As their names suggest, Double Fudge Delight, Chocolate Cherry Swirl, and Mocha Madness all have chocolate in them. Recommend a flavor that's not one of these 3 to make the customer happy. I'm given the option to either try a new scenario or replay the current scenario in hopes of getting a better outcome. I'm going to try this one again. She once again enters the shop and once again asks me for a recommendation. This time, I'm going to recommend Very Very Strawberry. And she's really happy with my recommendation and can't wait to try it. From here I receive a page congratulating me for making the right selection and confirming why my selection was the best one. I can once again either replay the scenario to try for a different result, or I can try a new scenario with a new customer. While admittedly this example project is pretty small scale and simple, it could easily be adapted and expanded to provide many other customer service practice opportunities. For this tutorial, we're going to walk through the creation of this project, only focusing on one scenario. Rather than focusing on the functionality, let's instead approach this by looking at the 3 main segments of the scenario: the introduction screen, the customer interaction, and the conclusion screens, which explain why your answer was either correct or incorrect. Part 1. Setting up the introduction screen. Let's first start by setting up our introduction screen. I've created a new blank project and loaded all of my project images into the library. My images include the background image, my logo, and several images of my customer, one for each reaction. Just because of how the screens for this project are laid out cosmetically, with a few things needing to look identical across multiple slides, I'm going to recommend using master slides. There are several ways to accomplish keeping things looking identical across slides, such as duplication, or designing elements that last for the entirety of a project. But the approach I'm going to take for this project is master slides. From the Properties panel, select the Master Slide View button. Let's create a top master slide so it contains the background that we want to appear on each slide of the entire course. I'll start by dragging my background image onto the screen and apply an alpha of 30 so it's not overly distracting. I'll also drag in my logo and size and position it where I want on the screen, and also apply a slight alpha so it blends in. Finally, I'm going to create a title at the top of the page. I'll start by drawing a rectangle in the top left corner. And just as a personal preference, I'll add a white fill, light gray border, and shadow. Now let's add the title text inside of the box. My project is called Ice Cream Shop Roleplay. Feel free to change the type, size, and color of your font however you like. Notice that the changes we made to our slide have carried over to all of our master slides, except for the one titled blank. This is because we made changes to the very top master slide in the list. That's perfectly okay, and in fact, we did that on purpose in this case, because we want these background elements to appear on every screen in the activity. Okay, I think this design looks pretty good, so I'll go ahead and select the Exit Master button at the top of the screen to go back to my normal film strip view. On our first slide here, which as you can see, now contains the background we created for our masters, let's create our direction text for the activity. I'll start by drawing a rounded rectangle shape where the direction text will go. Just to complement my background, I'll give this shape a greenish-blue color and a thick white outline. Instead of the shape, I'll create a new text box where I'll write out my scenario introduction and direction text. I'm using a text box here instead of typing in my shape directly, because it gives me just a little bit more cosmetic control over my text. Feel free to type directly in the shape if you like to keep things simple. Now I'll create a smaller, rounded rectangle shape to serve as the header for my direction text. I'll make this one gray and type directions inside of it. I'll draw a simple white triangle shape and place it in the lower right corner of the screen. As a small cosmetic flourish, I'll add an outer shadow that's white, so it sort of looks like it's glowing. In the Properties panel, I'll select the Use As Button option, and then select the Actions button to designate the action I want this button to trigger. This button will simply navigate to the next slide, so I'll select the Go to Next Slide option in the On Success dropdown. Finally, I'll draw a new text box and type Select the Arrow button to continue, so that learners know that this triangle is a button. Feel free to change the font size, type, and color however you wish. Our first slide is done. Let's name it Directions by selecting the slide from our film strip and typing the title in the Properties panel. Part 2. Creating the Customer Interaction Screens. Alright, our learners have been given instructions on how to carry out this activity. Now let's make this role play as believable as possible with our dialogue and customer reactions. Let's make our next slide that will transition learners into the scenario at hand. We'll first add a new slide using the master slide we created in the previous step. Right-click our only slide in the film strip, hover over the Slides option, and select New Slide From, and then any of the slides in the list as a starting point. I'll pick Content 05 because it seems like the cleanest blank canvas to work from. Now let's add our customer image to the screen from the library. We have 3 image versions of our customer. One version of the customer with a happy expression, one with a confused or disappointed expression, and one with a neutral expression. We want the neutral expression image to start out with. Because I've named my image file names appropriately, it's easy for me to see which one I want within my library. I'll drag it onto my workspace and size and position the image how I want. I want her to take up the majority of the right third of my screen, so I'll place her here. I want her to be the backmost item on the screen, so I'll right-click her, select Arrange, and then Send to Back. I'm also going to add a little flourish of her entering the screen. This is optional, but I think it adds to the realism of the scenario. Select her again, Open your Properties panel, and then select the Timing tab. Under Effects, select the Animation Effect drop-down menu and select Entrance. From the options that appear below, select Ease In Left. I want this to happen pretty quickly, so I'll adjust the effect duration to 0.5 seconds. Next, let's add text in the middle of the lower portion of the screen. This is where we're going to inform learners that a customer has entered the building. Copy your big rounded rectangle shape and text box from the first slide, and make them both a little shorter. Remove all existing text and type "A customer has entered the shop." I'll also copy the arrow button from the first screen and paste it here. No need to make any changes to it because ultimately we want it to function the same way by taking learners to the next screen. This slide is done. Let's name it Cust Enter. Now let's make a new master slide. This one will be the base for slides that depict the customer speaking to us, which will happen over the course of multiple slides. We'll once again create a new master slide by selecting Master Slide View from our Properties panel. This time, we want to make extra certain that we're only making changes to one of the lower master slides, not the very top one. Any changes we make to the top master slide will automatically be added to every screen on our project, which we don't want. Instead, let's create a new master to work with by duplicating Content 05 that we used earlier. I'll make it clear that this is our Customer Dialog slide by renaming this master Customer Dialog in the Properties panel. I'm going to copy all of the screen elements from the last slide I made, which includes the shape and the image of the customer, and I'll paste them into my new Customer Dialog screen. Do not bring over the arrow button. I'll also copy the heading rectangle from my very first slide and paste it here, changing the text to read Customer, so that way it's apparent who's speaking. It would be nice if we could have a text placeholder on the screen that was already pre-formatted the way we want. So let's make such a placeholder now. Right-click the master we're working within and select Placeholder Objects, and then Text Caption. A new placeholder will appear. Position it in the center of your rectangle shape, and under the Properties panel, change the size, type, and color the way you want. Okay, this master slide is done, but anticipating that we also want a version of this slide where our customer looks very happy, and another where she looks confused and disappointed, let's duplicate this master twice, naming one Customer Happy and the other Customer Sad. For Customer Happy, let's replace the neutral customer image with the happy customer image. For the Customer Sad master, let's replace the neutral customer image with the disappointed customer image. Back to our project. Right now, the customer has entered our shop, but she hasn't spoken to us yet. Let's create our first dialog screen. Go ahead and make a new screen with our newly created Customer Dialog Master. And with just the click of a button, our new slide instantaneously has its foundation ready to go. In the text placeholder, I'll type my customer's first words to us. Hello. I'll finally copy the arrow button from the previous screen and paste it here. Once again, no need to make any changes, since we want the action of going to the next screen to stay the same. This screen is done. Let's name it as Cust 1. Okay, that was pretty easy. Now let's make the next Customer Dialog screen. Create a new screen using our Customer Dialog Master. Again, almost everything is pre-populated for us here. All we have to do is type the customer's next statement. I really don't like the taste of chocolate. What do you recommend? Once again, we'll copy over the next arrow, and we'll finish by naming this slide Cust 2. Isn't it starting to become apparent how much time we've saved by having the master slide set up in advance? Let's do it one more time and type once again, "I don't really like the taste of chocolate. What do you recommend?" Except this time, we won't carry over the next arrow. On this screen, we want to force the learner to select one of the 4 ice cream flavors to give the customer a recommendation. To do this, we'll create 4 long rectangle shapes, typing an ice cream flavor in each. To coordinate with the rest of the slide, I'll make these shapes light pink with a light gray border. I'll also apply a shadow so that these shapes appear more like buttons. I'll select each rectangle and in the Properties panel, designate Use as Button. Don't worry about assigning an action to these buttons quite yet. We'll come back to that in a minute. Okay, let's name this slide Cust 3 and move on. Now we need to make one reaction slide for each ice cream flavor selection. Let's start from the top of the ice cream flavors and go down. Our first option was Double Fudge Delight. This is an incorrect answer, and when we offer this to our customer, we want her to look disappointed because she's pretty sure there's chocolate in it. Create a new screen using our Customer SAD Master. Name the slide Fail DFD, with the DFD standing for Double Fudge Delight. Okay, again, our master slide has done most of the work for us. Let's just add the text that our customer would say when presented with this recommendation that she doesn't like. Now copy and paste an arrow button from a previous slide, but don't worry about doing anything with its action quite yet. Okay, now let's repeat the steps and make a reaction slide for the next flavor. Chocolate Cherry Swirl. Our customer very obviously won't like this one, so let's create this slide using the Customer SAD Master and name this slide Fail CCS for Chocolate Cherry Swirl. Type the text we want our customer to say, and once again copy and paste an arrow button from the previous slide. Next, we'll repeat the steps for our next flavor, Very Very Strawberry. This one is actually the correct recommendation, and it will make our customer happy, so we'll make the new slide using our Customer Happy Master. Name the slide Success VVS. Add the text that we want our customer to say in response to this great recommendation. Copy and paste an arrow button from a previous slide. Last one, we'll repeat the steps for our final flavor, Mocha Madness. Follow the previous steps with the Customer SAD Master. Name the slide Fail MM. Now let's go back to our Cust 3 slide, which is the one that has all of the ice cream flavor buttons. Change the action of each button to Jump to Slide, making sure that each button navigates to the correct response slide. The Double Fudge Delight button will navigate to Fail DFD. The Chocolate Cherry Swirl button will navigate to Fail CCS. The Very Very Strawberry button will navigate to Success VVS. And the Mocha Madness button will point to Fail MM. Alright, part 2 is complete. We've got our customer's dialogue complete, as well as our response ice cream flavor choices and the customer's reaction. Let's move on to creating the final conclusion screens and linking them to our reaction slides. Part 3. Creating the scenario conclusion screens, which explain why your answer was either correct or incorrect. Let's start by creating our correct conclusion screen, which will appear when the learner correctly recommends the Very Very Strawberry flavor. We'll create a new slide using any of the basic master slide backgrounds. I'm once again going to pick Content 05. Rather than reinvent the wheel, let's copy the text box, blue rectangle, and header box from our direction slide and paste them onto our new slide. I'm going to widen the header box and center it, and write "Well done" at the top. Within the text box, I'm going to type text confirming the Very Very Strawberry flavor is the correct choice, and explain why. Finally, I'm going to create a new retry button that will allow the learner to repeat the scenario if they'd like. I'll draw a rectangle shape and apply whatever fill, border, and font style I'd like. Under Properties, I'll designate Use as Button, and under Actions, make sure it's set to Jump to Slide and Cust Enter. This will take the learner back to the point in the project where a customer enters the building. Name this slide Success. Now let's make our incorrect conclusion screen, which will appear when the learner incorrectly recommends any of the chocolate flavors. Again, to make things easy on ourselves, let's duplicate our success screen and simply replace the text. In the header box, I'll write, "Not quite, try again." In the text box, I'll add new text that explains that the Double Fudge Delight, Chocolate Cherry Swirl, and Mocha Madness flavors all have chocolate, and therefore aren't the best recommendation for this customer, because she stated that she doesn't like chocolate. There's no need to change anything about the retry button, because it still navigates to the first slide of the scenario. Name this slide Fail. Finally, we'll want to make sure that the arrow button for each of our reaction slides points to the correct conclusion slide. For the arrow in Fail DFD, have it point to the Fail slide. Do the same for the arrows in Fail CCS and Fail MM. Have the arrow in the Success VBS slide point to the Success slide. Okay, let's test our project. It seems to work perfectly. Thank you so much for following along with my tutorial. I hope you had fun, and you're ready to create more custom scenario-based roleplay interactions just like this one.